And a good morning and welcome in. It is Mornings in Meridian here on a fun Friday. And glad you folks are making us a part of your Friday morning here on August the 11th, 2023, as we're kicking things off the first hour of the two best hours of local live talk radio here in East Mississippi and West Alabama and all over the world at WALTmeridian.com and even on that Facebook thing. Yeah, we got our Facebook live feed up this morning as well. Go like and follow our Facebook page, WALT Talk Radio. And, of course, don't forget, we still got that $5,000 cash prize up for grabs over at WALTmeridian.com. We'll give you more details about that coming up shortly. But who are we? I am Rob. I promise Roger is going to be back Monday. But we've got another day with the doctor, Dr. Toby Bates.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. I like sitting in Roger's seat. It makes me feel smarter. Makes me feel smarter. You know,
whichever chair it might be, right?
And you mentioned live. You know, going out over the webs.
Yeah.
Or as my uncle says, the internets.
The intranet.
Yeah. I'd like to hold this up for the people. Is that going through? I can't see my monitor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is for all the people who are on Highway 45 this morning.
I'm sorry.
I was driving down from Tupelo, and
he's holding up a sign for you radio listeners.
That's right.
He's holding up a sign that says "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry. That's right. And I was just around a lot of drivers today who were taking kind of a Zen Buddhist approach.
A Zen Buddhist
to
approach?
their driving. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they had new tires and they didn't want to get them dirty. So I don't drive that way. So I just wanted to start the show with my apology.
So you're an IndyCar guy? Is that what you are?
I want to get where I'm going safely, of course. You know,
Mr. Solly, there's a certain vehicle we need to put a warrant out for, yep, or a APV out for, please.
I told you once I passed him.
I know. Yeah, you told me that story before.
Yeah, he was going to be a guest on the show that morning. You know, which we fully expect the sheriff to do. And he set this precedent. And when we left after the show, he and I were walking out into the parking lot at the same time, and I saw his vehicle, and I thought, oh, crap, I blew his doors off today.
Whoops. Well, how are you this morning? Doing well?
Yeah, doing great. Yesterday was a lot of fun. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roger giving me to be on here, and no, it's great. A lot of things happening in Meridian. A lot of things happen nationally. And,
absolutely. Yeah. And we're going to kind of go into those lanes today. I think we've spent the last 2 days on the local elections. I think we can move to the next step here. Now, of course, don't forget, folks, you're going to hear us say this a lot over the next several weeks, but don't forget runoffs are coming up on August the 29th. We're going to have two races here in Lauderdale County. The countywide race is going to be for coroner on the Republican ticket. You're going to have Stella McMahon, who is the leading vote getter for coroner on the Republican side, will face a runoff with Kenneth Graham. That was, as of obviously the unofficial results that we got after Tuesday evening. And, of course, the District 1 supervisor race between J.J. Anders and Chris Bullock on the Republican ticket will go into a runoff. So you got the one countywide race and then, of course, the one district race right there. Of course, District 1 voters will have two things on their ballot while everybody else will have just the one. And remember, we always have to say, remember,
yes,
if you voted Democrat, you cannot vote in that particular runoff. It's only for folks that voted Republican. So just to be very clear on that, you just can't show them. I won't vote. Well, you didn't vote that. Well, what do you mean?
That's right.
You're gonna get escorted out by Solly and the bunch.
Well, being a Democrat voter, they think they've already got this appreciation of they don't have to follow the rules, right? That's what I heard. I don't. I heard,
allegedly.
I heard that somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if anybody, when they went to the poll on Tuesday, were like, I have to show you my ID, really?
Yeah.
It kind of got an attitude about it. I mean, I was just kind of like second nature to me. I was just kind of like, oh, there you go. There it is. And it's like everybody at the polling place knows, a lot of the local voters. I mean, because the poll workers have been there for years. But you still show your ID, and that's kind of the way she all rolls right there.
Well, I mean, if I have to show my ID at the pharmacy when I pick up my vitamin pills.
Wait a minute here.
And when I get on a plane, the least I could do is show it when I vote.
That's that smell.
Well, it's Okay.
It's very odorific. That's even a word. Before we head to the phone lines this morning, and of course our number is 601-485-9191. We need to thank our friends down at Purvis Business Machines. I tell you what, Jerry and Betty Purvis have been in Meridian and for years, and they started at Purvis Business Machines back in 1979, and I love their slogan because they live by it. Mm-hmm. Service, not excuses.
That's right. And we were talking off the air when we both met here at 4 a.m. to do our pre-show prep that, classes began at MSU on Wednesday, the 16th, next week. Yep, MSU Meridian campuses classes start. Of course, they start up in Starkville as well. And we'd be lost on campus, without the Purvis Business Machine. I mean, the things that we do as far as supplying the students and the documents and things such like, we have to. It's not the old days of the, of the overhead projector. It's not the old days of the Xerox machine. And you've got to supply this information to these students in a way it catches their eye. And we do that. And if you have a small business, since the COVID came through, a lot of people are working from home. A lot of people have a small business. And if you don't have a Purvis Business Machine at your house, you really don't have a business. It's kind of like the difference in a lemonade stand and a concession stand. Again, they've got any kind of machine you want. The thing to do is call them. Tell them what kind of business you do. Tell them about the volume, and they'll supply the machine, the exact machine that you need. And give them a call at 693-2679, 693-COPY, COPY. Tell them what kind of business you have. They'll supply the kind of machine you need. As we said before, they've got machines that calculate, scan, print, email, copy. I think I said that twice. I must have meant it. Staple. If you're in politics, if you're in the city government, they have machines that shred quickly. So give them a call. Tell them what you've got going on. The machines are the best workers in the world because they sit over in the corner. They're whisper quiet with whatever they do. Never have any problems with them at all. And Purvis Business Machines, they'll set you up right. And you'll be saving money with these machines. So give them a call, 693-2679, Purvis Business Machines.
Got a caller on the line this morning. First one out of the gate on this fun Friday. Hey, caller, thanks for holding. Good morning to you. Hey, good morning, caller. Good morning. All right. Well,
so apparently, again, as we always say, the mime school.
That was the feds calling.
It's still calling. Oh, is that right? Is that the 2 clicks mean?
The 2 clicks, that's what it means. Oh, robocall there. Somebody trying to do the AI thing or something. So, but a lot to get into this morning. Really want to go to the national headlines. I know it's been local, and that's what we love here at Mornings in Meridian. But there's a lot of stories that we have not had an opportunity to cover. And we touched on this briefly when we wrapped up the show yesterday, and that was Peter Ducey's question from Fox News. Of course, Toby, we haven't had you on the show since the Devin Archer testimony. Biden's, I guess you would say, ex-business partner.
Right.
He did I guess you would consider it the closed-door testimony that he had just over a week ago up in D.C. And it's amazing how we talked about this here on the show last week. Just the timing of everything. The testimony from Devin Archer happens, then another Trump indictment comes down the very next day.
That's right.
But yesterday, well, it was actually the day before yesterday, Peter Ducey was at an event that President Biden was at because he covers the White House thoroughly for Fox News. And it was weird. They let him cross this big barrier. You'll see those metal barriers at big events where they let him jump over that and walk up to the president and ask him a question. And that was his question, was regarding the conference calls. And of course, folks, you've heard the coverage here on WALT with either Glenn Beck or Clay and Buck or Sean Hannity about Joe Biden, especially Hannity. He beats that drum constantly, and rightfully so. But it was in reference to the conference calls that Joe Biden, and we always have to use the word allegedly. You always have to use that in any case like this. But when he asked him the question about him being on some of those conference calls, he said, "What a lousy question." Right. I knew you would ask a lousy question, paraphrasing the president, but it's not so much of a lousy question, right?
No, not at all. And it's interesting to watch. For 4 years during the Trump administration, we had this Russia collusion.
Yeah.
Right?
Russia.
Right. Which after a while began to sound like a car, right?
Yeah.
Drive the new Russian collusion.
Instead of Marsha, it was Russia.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was this drumbeat that you heard over and over again, and there was not really anything new. We now know subsequently there was nothing to the story. It originated with the Clinton campaign. The FBI knew there was nothing to it, and yet this drumbeat continued, right?
Right.
The difference in that drumbeat and this one was there was not really anything new of substance. There'd be a new headline now and then, and be looking into it, and there's nothing to it. This has been a steady drip going on with lobbying and President Biden's son Hunter. It involves drugs, and involves sex, and involves all the things that normally get people's attention,
and probably a dose of rock and roll, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And so you have this whole thing continuing to continue and get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you have virtually no coverage from what they still call the big three networks: the ABCs, the NBCs, and the CBSs. I think that was a very smart thing that President Biden did. He knew what Peter was going to ask.
Of course. Yeah.
And that was a way to get that out, is to say, well, no, there's nothing to it. It's not true. And then immediately they began bragging on the president, taking a tough question, and letting him. He actually had to jump a barrier, right?
Yeah, no, that was the weirdest thing to me, that he had to do that. I mean, he was way away. I mean, it looked like in the camera shot that I saw, there was no other media around Ducey, which when he finally got to the president to ask him that question, of course, the president's surrounded by staffers and Secret Service. Obviously, I mean, that's with any president. They're going to be surrounded by those folks. But I just thought it was odd that he had to go through a barrier and jump over it to go ask a question. So,
and then they followed that up by saying, now look at the progression of their answers. He didn't have anything to do with business. He never talked to him about business. Now he was never in business with him, right? Yeah. And now they're saying there's no evidence that the money went directly into Joe's pocket, right? That's Clinton-esque in the wording. Remember the definition of is?
Yeah.
Is.
Yep.
And so I think maybe what the Biden administration was hoping for is maybe some scandal fatigue.
Sure.
Because, we heard it for 4 years on various things with President Trump. But the difference here is the new evidence is coming out, right? New folks are stepping up under oath.
Yeah.
Right? And you have the little things in the background like cocaine in the White House. Not being talked about right now, but people do remember.
That wasn't my coke.
That's right.
What are you talking about?
And I fully expected some small staffer to be named in that, and maybe get a nice little gratuity a little bit later on for doing so.
And they might already have. We just don't know it.
Right. And so it's just an extraordinary thing going on right now. And I was thinking about this a few moments ago. I was thinking, if you just go back 35 years, and if you told the American people that there was no Cold War anymore, that the Soviet Union was gone, that would sound great. You told people that Congress is actually holding hearings on UFOs.
I know.
People would be blown away by that. No, that's just kind of a ho-hum thing.
Yeah.
And if you told them about this growing scandal with President Biden, you would think that first of all, they'd be stunned that Biden was president, first of all, because he's always been known as, he was around back then, 35 years ago, and was kind of known as flaky then. But the fact that it's not getting really any play.
No.
And the volume, though, Rob, is getting to a point, I don't see how they can keep ignoring this.
No.
I really don't see how they can keep ignoring
Well, and
it.
the thing about it is, whenever you have Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, with her notebook full of, something that resembles answers, like you said a few seconds ago, the story continues to change constantly, which there wasn't a lot of credibility to begin with her. I mean, we could talk a lot about her.
Sure.
Actually, why she got the job, if you want to go down that lane.
She's historical. You know why? Because she told us she was.
She's historical because she told us she was, and she checked certain boxes, obviously. But anyway, it's like every time they get up in front of that podium, I don't care if it's her or anybody else, it's John Kirby, whoever it might be, it's just pure D-out embarrassing for them. I mean, it really is. And everybody sees it. And you have some of the liberal media, like the New York Times, going back to that story with Hunter Biden's daughter.
Right.
The grandchild that was never recognized by Joe Biden. And all of a sudden, I've got 7 grandchildren. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Oh, we looked at a poll, and we're doing so bad in that area, so we have to do something to give him just a little bit of cred right there, because Joe Biden has always tried to paint himself as this good guy, this
Right.
good family guy,
America's grandfather.
moderate Joe, So when that story kept bubbling up, the New York Times did an op-ed piece and basically called the Bidens out for that. So when you have some in your own camp that have been mouthpieces for your administration for so long now, starting to turn on you, a little bit of blood's in the water. Not a ton,
Right.
just a little bit.
And that was, I think,
a little droplet.
and wasn't that 2 weeks today that
Yes.
they released that little blurb with People magazine?
Yeah,
You
of
know?
all things. Yeah,
Yeah.
the hard-hitting news at People.
That's
yeah.
exactly right.
It's kind of like The View on steroids, but anyway. Sorry. Yay for Whoopi!
Yeah, I mean, people have said this before. That is the most depressing show, and it has people like named Sonny and Joy and Whoopi.
It's not
Yeah.
even that much
And they're
joy.
No, they're not happy at all. You're paid lots of money to sit around a table and talk.
Yeah.
But no, I think that was released 2 weeks ago today. I think,
Yeah.
and whenever news is released on a Friday afternoon, that's when you dump it and hope it doesn't get a whole lot of traction.
Yeah.
But no, this is something that's continuing, and there's so many thoughts on this. Some individuals think Democrats are leaking a lot of this because they do not want Joe to run. They're wanting Newsom out of California.
Oh yeah.
Today we were talking about this again during our massive show prep. It was in 2020. Today's the 3-year anniversary of Joe naming Kamala Harris as his vice president.
A friend in need is a friend indeed.
I can first.
Oh, see, that'd be in my head now like 10 a.m. It's like Rocky Top when you go to a SEC game. It's just going to stay in your head.
A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Oh, my gosh. And see, that's something else you would tell people from 35 years ago, that we had a 2-term black president. We have a female a black vice president.
Yeah.
And it all sounds well and good on paper, right? Until you, and again, I've said from the beginning, they're doing her a massive disservice. I don't think the Biden administration has been very fair to her at all. But no, this story is getting bigger and bigger, and more evidence is coming out. And it's just funny when I hear the media say, well, there's no evidence that the money went directly into Joe's pocket. That's like asking OJ, did you kill your wife? No. Okay. Did you slice her neck? Oh, sure, I did that. Right? I mean the semantics, and I'm using that as an example, of course, because he was found not guilty. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're parsing things down to that, where we had 4 years of phantom reporting on Donald Trump. That was more than enough to red meat on Donald Trump to go after him on. You'd have to make something up. And then we had that for 4 years. The difference is and we have new evidence popping up, new things coming up.
From a historical aspect, going down this lane, did you ever think that possibly in 2024 you would have a rematch, first of all, between Trump and Biden, which on paper is looking like that right now? Things could change drastically. And you have one that has all these indictments, one that probably should have indictments, and these are the two gentlemen that could be on the ticket next year.
No, to all those things. I mean,
it's really unprecedented, really, when you start to slice and dice it pretty good.
Yes,
so.
You're exactly right. In modern times now, and in the 19th century, we had lots of rematches. But basically, how it's been in the 20th, especially the latter part of the 20th, early 21st century, it's been one and done. If you ran for president as one of the nominees and you got beat, you were done. You went off and wrote a book. You did a Sunday show here and there. But you were done. The fact that Trump is still so popular and is still, far and away the leading Republican.
Not even close.
Not even close. There's a lot of things there. There's a lot of, you got that core group that will always like him, but you also have some individuals thinking that he got kind of railroaded. He wasn't given a chance in those 4 years to really do what he wanted to do because they kept throwing all these barnacles on his administration.
Yeah.
You know what big thing I saw the other day, and I did not realize it was like this until I actually ran across this. They always love to throw out the media loves to throw out this country right direction, wrong direction.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing.
All the time.
Just prior to COVID, the feeling that the country was going in the right direction had been its highest in years.
Wow.
It's been its highest with all the negative stuff going on with President Trump that you heard in the media every single day. People had a little more folding money in their pocket, or at least that was the perception that they did.
Perception. Yeah.
For the first time in 4 years, we weren't involved in a snatch and grab war somewhere.
Yeah.
And people began to feel like it was going in the right direction. Then, of course, COVID shows up.
The China virus.
And changes, well, as we've seen, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, the fact that Donald Trump is running again and doing so well, that's really unprecedented. And the fact that, again, for the last 50, 60 years, we've been kind of one and done. People tried to get Gore to maybe run again in 2004 for a rematch. And the other Democrats are like, no, Al, you've gone off and gone Hollywood. You've gotten fat. You say the sky's falling. Go write another book that nobody reads.
And go continue to vet the internet.
That's right. And spend more time at home and don't cheat on your wife. Because all we heard in 2000 was you and Tipper have the greatest marriage ever.
Tipper.
And then Al went Hollywood and, they're no longer together.
That all collapsed like like folded like a cheap suit there.
So as an historian, I'm watching this, and it's not only unprecedented, it's the media coverage of both these candidates.
It's just amazing to see just how things have changed. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, 10 years, 15?
Yeah.
Just how much it's changed. Not just in the media landscape, but just politically, just how much it's changed. And, of course, what do we always kind of circle back to? The word woke.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
It always comes back to that, doesn't it? So
a lot of people approached you and approached me. It was like, and they said the same thing different ways. I went to bed one night. I woke up in clown world.
That's a good way of putting it.
I'm now living in clown world.
What the heck happened around here? It's like that'd be a great movie. Like I woke up one day and I was like, I don't recognize the country I live in right now. But you know what? It's no movie.
No, it's not.
I think we all wake up every day and be like, what is this? 601-485-9191. We're right on top of a break here at Mornings in Meridian, but we'd love to hear from you here on this fun Friday. We got a lot more stories to get into. The MSU Riley Center announced their new season last night. We'll get into that and much more. We got Your Money Now just around the corner, along with Fox News here on Mornings in Meridian. Stay close. There's just one reason we're playing the theme song for the immortal Hulk Hogan. Can you believe it, folks, that Hulk Hogan has a birthday today, first of all, that he's still around after all the abuse to his body. He is celebrating a birthday today. Hulk Hogan is 70 today. How about that?
Which is the Bible warranty, isn't it? 70. Yeah. What the Bible says?
Yep, wrestler Hulk Hogan is turning 70 years old today. He was born Terry Gene Bollea. Good thing he went with Hulk Hogan, right? So, but yeah, he's celebrating a birthday today. So all these wrestlers are getting up in years now.
I owe him a lot because he made male pattern baldness cool.
Really did.
I mean, he and Dwight Yoakam, I think they started losing their hair like when they were 11, 12, and but Hulk embraced it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he had I can't do the do this voice.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah, brother. That's it. Yeah, that's right. That's right, brother. Yeah. And
what you gonna do?
And he, eat your vitamins, little things he would scream at.
Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and believe in yourself.
That's right.
Oh, I grew up on it, man. That was my guy right there.
He had a breakfast cereal.
He did.
Right?
He did.
And he really had an impact. And we were talking off the air that when he switched to the bad guys, he became a heel.
Yeah, you're right.
That actually made national news.
Yeah.
Don't you miss that?
I do.
When the news would cover something like that.
Just something stupid.
Yeah. And you realize, well, everything must be okay.
Yeah, everything's great.
Everything's fun.
We're covering wrestling.
That's right.
The ultimate male soap opera.
It is. It
really
is.
Can you believe that? I can't believe that.
My Uncle Tommy used to jump in the ring in Tupelo with a pocket knife. It was the Tupelo Sportatorium. It was really a garage.
Yeah.
And on Friday night, a mechanic's garage. On Friday night, the guys from Memphis would come down.
Yeah.
Dundee and Lawler. And
oh yeah.
Uncle Tommy had a really bad comb over. And so he would jump in the ring, and he'd be constantly had a knife in one hand. He'd be getting the hair out of his face with the other.
I love it.
And the cops would arrest him and take him out. And then my dad would go out. They'd just be outside waiting.
Yeah.
And they'd say, Jerry, take this guy somewhere.
Oh, gosh.
But he believed in that stuff, man.
I'm telling you, years ago, they had wrestling matches regularly here in Meridian. They had them at Ray Stadium before. They had them at the Meridian High Gym before. I mean, Mick Foley was here before when he was doing the Cactus Jack thing. I mean,
really?
Sting's been here. I mean, all those guys. So, I mean, that was a lot of fun. Of course, you're sitting in the front or second row, and they're like bashing each other with chairs. You're like, man, this is crazy. This is real. These boys are real.
Now you have to go to the bus stop at Meridian High School to watch that kind of stuff. But we're not on the air. I can say that. We'll cut that out later. We'll
just trim that off.
No, but that's a big deal. Hulk Hogan, that age, because he had a cultural impact. A friend of mine. I hate to ramble, but my ranting gets raves. I have a friend of mine who teaches at LSU. He's got a book coming out on Southern culture as seen through professional wrestling.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's reflective of, and he's looking primarily at the 70s and 80s, when the bad guy wrestlers were Russian and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting book.
Yeah, the Russian nightmare, Nikita Koloff.
Oh, yeah, man. Hated that guy.
He was a heel. So.
Commie.
Other birthdays on the list today include Viola Davis, heck of an actress, of course, from The Help. She's turning 58 today. Chris Hemsworth, of course, Thor. Is 40 years old today. Of course, we've already mentioned Hulk Hogan. From the music world, Eric Carmen, those Hungry Eyes. He is 74 today. Let's see who else we got on the list here. We mentioned Hulk Hogan. Entrepreneur Steve Wozniak is 73 today. So, of course, the co-founder of Apple and the late TV show host Mike Douglas. Oh, he's the only man. Anyway. Fun fact.
Yeah?
He was born and died on August 11th. He died on his birthday.
Wow.
Back in 2006.
Makes the tombstone easier to make, I guess. Just have the one date and have the 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So there you go. So those are the birthdays on the list. And it is a fun Friday, and you know what that means. We got to let Joe Biden sing happy birthday. Let me get the next
Good old Joe.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff open here. All right, Joe, take it away.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
There you go. Day's not complete without that. So,
and he did that at Christmas. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. Before we move on here, we need to thank our good buddy Jeffrey Wilson, State Farm agent here in Meridian. Folks, he can save you a lot of money when you combine home and auto insurance. And Jeffrey is just a fantastic guy here in the community. He is been a Meridian Knight for years, and he is involved in a lot of different organizations. And go by and see him just up the road from us on Highway 39.
Yeah, having a local agent is really important because he knows the area, he knows you, knows the family. And as someone who has leaned on their insurance quite a bit since April, I might have mentioned once or 50 times about Kathy and I losing our home to a tornado. And we are with State Farm. It's great to have a good relationship with the agent and have someone looking out for you.
Right.
When we went to our agent and put together our program, and you can do the same thing with Jeffrey Wilson. I didn't know what all the fancy terms were for insurance. I just said, look, I want to be able to replace this if I lose it due to a storm. You're right. I want to be able to not just get a check to repair the house, but to repair the items that I've lost too. And it's it's a loss of use program and things like that. I didn't know that. I just told the agent what I wanted. And we carefully went over the program together, and I'm telling you, it made a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
And guys, it can happen to you. It can come out of nowhere and happen to you. So Jeffrey, if you're local, Jeffrey Wilson's the guy you need to talk to. He will be open today, of course. Number 601-483-8253. 601-483-8253. Sleep well at night because you're covered with good insurance. Go see State Farm agent Jeffrey Wilson today.
All right, let's go to the phone line. Hey, caller, it's a fun Friday. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all doing today?
Hello, Zane. What goes it this morning?
Man, I can tell that you're young, and I can tell that Toby hadn't been in town all his life.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
Not shot yet.
Friday nights at 7 p.m., the Gulf Coast Championship Wrestling at Buckwalter Stadium.
Oh man, you can't say
that was
now. If you're
Bob Kelly.
Yeah. If you're in the South, you can't say wrestling. You got to say wrestling.
Wrestling.
It's wrestling.
Yeah.
So Zane, who was the big name that would come through? Like we had Lawler out of Memphis. Who was the big name, or Dundee? Who was the big name for you guys?
Cowboy Bob Kelly.
Oh, Cowboy Bob Kelly.
He was the good guy. And the Blue Yankee was the bad guy.
The Blue Yankey.
I run into him about 20 years ago. He was an old guy on a walking cane, and he walked up to me in downtown Mobile and said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And he was the nicest guy. He would come in and stop at the Jitney Junior down at the bottom of the hill on 45.
Right.
With his mask on. And he would talk to the girls down there. And one day some weary traveler pulls up on the road, and there's this guy sitting there. These girls are just bawling, laughing at the jokes he's telling. And they throw their hands up in the air, and this caller looks in the window, and he says, "It's a masked man." And both women have their hands in the air. Next thing you know, all 4 police cars in the city of Meridian done surrounded.
But that's the point of my friend's book. Look at the fellow's name, the bad guy, the Blue Yankee.
Yeah.
So you got the uniform in there, you got the Civil War uniform, and yeah, the kayfabe was real big back then. You couldn't let the good guys and bad guys be seen together, and did they have Memphis had a TV show on Saturday mornings live that would kind of promote the following week's matches. Did Meridian have a show they picked up out of somewhere?
Yeah, they had a show that came out of Mobile, and it was that same group of guys, and they were here on Friday night.
Yep.
And then they made a comeback for a little while in the 80s.
Yeah, and of course,
by the end of it, just kind of died off.
Yeah, and of course, right after that, that's when TBS kind of did their thing with the NWA and WCW. That's when the cable part of it really started to get big, and of course, we see where it's at now. So
yeah, McMahon went in and bought everybody out. But I tell you what's fun. We used to go. A bunch of friends and I would drive to Memphis, and we would actually go to the live wrestling on Saturday morning, and you can actually see us in several episodes on YouTube. I had a mullet. Oh, I had a mullet you wouldn't believe. Oh,
I need to go check that out.
Oh, Billy Ray was jealous of my mullet. But what we would do is when the wrestler got thrown out, there's always a guy every Saturday that gets beat up. jobber.
Oh, yeah.
And he would get thrown out in front of us, and he would reach underneath his little sweatband, and he would pull out a razor.
Sure.
And he, of course, get color, as they called it, cut himself. And we'd yell that out. He cut himself. It's, and the security guard would come over and tell us to shut up. Or the bad guy wrestlers.
Yeah.
And we always cheered for the bad guy wrestlers, So we always stuck out quite a bit. But it was fun as a kid. I mean, did you make a lot of the matches on Fridays, Zane?
Oh, yeah, I made them all.
Yeah.
I rented them chairs. That was one of my business ventures I had. And one night, man, they went and picked up a chair and was going to bust one over the head. And I was about 8 years old and ran out there and grabbed that chair. And I said, oh, no, I paid 75 cents for that chair.
I love it.
Now, Zane, I'm getting a question.
They made a deal with me.
Yeah?
That I would drill the rivets out of the chairs, and they would bust a chair up every week and pay me extra, and I would go put it back together the next week, and that chair would be marked. It would come apart easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I rented them. They had a candy chair, too. So that worked out real good for my entrepreneurial little self.
Well, I just got a question here, Zane, from one of our listeners that's actually in North Mississippi. Could you give us the name of that stadium again?
Buckwalter Stadium.
Okay, there was some clarification they wanted on the. They were a little confused on the name of the stadium.
Yeah, Buckwalter Stadium, home of the Meridian Millers. Then my dad ended up buying the stadium when the Millers moved to Vicksburg.
How about that?
And Dad ended up buying that stadium and building the fairgrounds out of it.
Well, my Jerry Lawler could beat anybody down here. I'm just going to put that out there.
Jerry Lawler was a man.
Yeah.
The king.
He was a clown in New York.
I don't know. Cowboy Bob Kelly, he was a tough guy.
Now, Lawler was the king, though. He'd take that strap down, and that'd be all she wrote, man.
I don't know. I watched Cowboy Bob Kelly get that bag of money tied up on the light one night, and they had done busted the ladder up, and had to stand on somebody's head to get the bag of money. And then they were about 6 inches short, so they threw a bad guy that was unconscious. They threw him on the ground and stepped up on his shoulders, laying on the ground. And had two men, one on top of the other guy's shoulders, and then standing on the bad guy to reach the money.
Oh, man.
See, good family entertainment.
Right there.
Yeah, good family entertainment. We just don't have it
It's
anymore.
the ultimate venue to get a bunch of rednecks together. I mean, that's like a party right there, going to a wrestling match.
That's right. Ain't nothing like it.
You darn right.
And I'm kind of surprised the crowds were good because Friday nights when Dukes of Hazzard came on. So I figured that would cut into the audience.
This was way before Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, okay. I see.
All right.
They were still babies back then.
Yeah, we're gonna go down to the Coliseum wrestling match. We gonna have fun.
Every Saturday morning, my father-in-law's store, little town called Collegiate.
Yeah.
That's where all the men would gather. All of them are farmers. You generally only see them on Sundays. But when wrestling was on, they all gathered there, and they'd watch wrestling out of Memphis.
Because what was that movie that came out? Oh, it's probably been maybe 10-plus years ago. The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a good look at what some of the older guys are just kind of hanging on by a thread, just trying to keep themselves relevant. I thought that was a good depiction of what they go through. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tough life.
I tell you what, it's tough. It's very tough. Man, that wrestling ring was 2x12s framed out in the bottom, and about every other month they would end up breaking one and throwing each other down. Like, and they call this stuff fake. It may be a little bit scripted, but it's still brutal.
Well, that's why John Stossel got slapped by David Schultz. He called it fake, and you can call it anything you want to. Don't call it fake. Those guys put themselves through some tough times.
Yeah. This is why I love Fun Fridays. You never know where it's going to go.
That's right.
And we went the
Never know.
thanks to Hulk Hogan, we went into the wrestling world today. So
That's it.
there you go. Well, all right, Zane. We'll have a good Friday, and appreciate you checking in.
You guys have a wonderful day. Take care.
See ya. I love it.
Now that Zane is gone, I'd like to, I'm glad he agreed with me that Jerry Lawler could beat up Cowboy Billy Bob Smith, whatever his name was.
Cowboy Bob Kelly.
Lawler's still wrestling.
I know.
He recently had a stroke, so he's not now, but he was wrestling up until just a few months ago.
I loved him, Lawler, doing the color commentary with Jim Ross. He's so funny.
But it was so confusing.
So he's a witty dude. I mean, he really
but Rob, it was so confusing because in Memphis he was a good guy, and then when he went up there, he was kind of a mean clown.
Yeah.
But he was smart. He co-owned part of that wrestling in Memphis, and they worked out a deal with McMahon because McMahon put everybody out of business.
He did.
Because most of the big wrestling companies had all their wrestling on Monday night, so that's why he picked a Monday night for his Raw or whatever it's called.
Hitting the tough subjects on a Friday.
That's right.
That's what we do here mornings at Meridian.
That's right.
Wrestling. You know what them boys are talking about on Friday morning? Wrestling. Don't they know it stuff's fake?
Talk to them guys who do it.
Not fake.
That's not. So we're going to take a break, and we'll return after this break. Stay with us. 485-9191. Okay, Joe Biden, stay away from that girl in the corner, please. Hungry eyes.
Indeed.
Eric Carmen celebrating his birthday today. Those hungry eyes. He is 74 today. 601-485-9191 is our number. It's been a fun Friday. It's been a politics and all this other stuff that kind of gets in the way of fun. So we're just kind of letting loose here on a fun Friday. And, of course, we mentioned earlier, if you want to win $5,000, head over to WALTmeridian.com. No, I didn't stutter. 5K is up for grabs. Simply head over to WALTmeridian.com. When you see the end of summer cash giveaway, you click on it, you register, and you are in the running for that drawing at the end of the month, August 30th to be exact, for $5,000.
I was asked yesterday afternoon on campus if it really is just that easy to do that.
I live by this mantra. Mm-hmm. Simple, stupid. It's simple.
Yep.
Even this stupid one could do it. So there we go.
For $5,000.
For $5,000, folks. You're right. WALTmeridian.com. We got a caller on the line. Hey, caller, welcome in.
Good morning, gentlemen.
A lot of foolishness this morning, Mayor.
Well, you said something about foolishness. Are you talking about Joe Biden?
Oh, man. Yeah, we're just trying to...
In ignorance and showing his ignorance only when he opens his mouth. But anyway, I was listening to you talking about the wrestling, reminding me they used to have wrestling matches down in the American Legion building upstairs downtown Meridian.
Wow.
There
Love
were
it.
two men, I can't recall their name. I think both of them was working for the Meridian Police Department or something like that. And also at Buckwalter Stadium, they used to have car races out there. And that was back before they built special cars. They just took whatever they had.
That's right. Right. That's right. That's right.
They wasn't braced up or anything, but they go out there and race. And it was one dry summer day when it was racing, and this one man had a 1934 Ford. That tells you what kind of cars they had.
Right.
And they had a big dust, a lot of dust and everything was flying up, and they couldn't see too good. One man in that 34 Ford had slid sideways.
Yeah.
Another car hit him right in the middle and killed the man.
Wow.
And, I just wonder if Zane remembers anything about that.
Wow.
Now, later on down the line, one of these men, and I'm sorry I can't recall the name, came up missing. They found a building somewhere out in the county somewhere where he had been staying, and it was bullet shot all in that building, shot all to pieces. They never did find his body.
Huh.
Wow.
Never seen or heard of again.
I never knew Hillary Clinton visited Meridian. I didn't realize that. Did you ever go to demolition derbies? Did you ever have those around here?
Yes. I saw one at that same fairground down there.
Wow.
Yeah. Now you have to go to Poplar Springs and North Hills to see that kind of thing. But
North Hills, just on a daily basis.
Exactly.
And you don't even have to pay to see it.
No. But you're right. No safety back then. No seatbelts. Nothing like no airbags. And they would get in there and just pound each other.
Yeah, but they were running in reverse to hit the opponent.
Right.
Protect that motor. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we are right on top of a clock here for Fox News. But hey, appreciate you checking in on this fun Friday.
And have more fun. That's the name of the game. And enjoy it. Have a great day.
Oh, there we go. I love it when he checks in. So.
Did you notice he said have more fun? Yeah. And he hit the phone at the same time? Right. Sound like he said a little...
What'd he say?
We're going to take a break here on Mornings of Meridian. Got Fox News, your local news on the way, and more fun on the other side here at Mornings of Meridian. Stay close. right, welcome back into hour number 2 of Mornings in Meridian. We would love to hear from you on this fun Friday. 601-485-9191. Of course, here on the radio at 102.1 FM. On Facebook Live right now. Appreciate you folks watching us on our Facebook live video feed over at our Facebook page, WALT Talk Radio. So go like and follow us there on Facebook as... Toby holds up a sign for you Facebook folks.
Yeah.
John 3:16.
Yeah, and then one more. Remember the guy with the rainbow hair at the football game? Okay, I've got one more.
Okay,
here.
You got one more?
One more.
Reagan 2024.
Reagan 2024.
That sounds like a pretty good idea to me. And, of course, online at WALTmeridian.com. We're so too, I swear. It's so ridiculous. But it's okay. It's a fun Friday.
It is a fun Friday.
Well, I'll tell you where you can have some fun, and you can fill up a shopping cart pretty darn fast, guys and girls out there. It's Trucker Supply. And, of course, it's Milwaukee all the way down to Yeti.
That's right. And best brands. And, there's always a store that the wife is going to go to, and this is going to sound kind of gender specific, but I'm just telling a story here. The wife is going to go to a store, and you happen to be in the vehicle with her. So your choice is to stay out in a hot car while she goes into the store.
Right.
Or she can drop you off somewhere and come back and get you. And Trucker Supply is the place that all people who work with tools and work around the house and do things with me hands, that's the place you want to go is Trucker Supply. First of all, the building's red, white, and blue, patriotic right off the bat. Second, you walk in and they've got a sheet of paper there on the counter with all their specials. They've always got specials going on. And folks, it's one of my favorite places to go and just walk the racks because you're going to see a tool that you're going to realize the past job I did at home would have been a lot easier if I'd had that particular tool. And like you said, Milwaukee tools are the main brand. And those things last 40 forevers. And we're talking about rechargeable tools, charging plates. And then when you're using this tool, you get a little thirsty, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you want to drink something, and you want the liquid to be the same temperature, hot or cold, it was when you first poured it into this amazing thermos, this amazing container, which happens to be a Yeti brand. And the great thing is they're always, like I said, running these specials. And so when you go by there, let the folks know, this is what I'm working on. I don't know what tool I need. And they'll take you right to what you need. And then you realize how fast that job is, how easy that job is with the right tool. Great customer service there. The Carr family started it in 1969. That's a great year. That's the year I first met my parents.
There you go.
Yeah, 1969. They've known me that long. And so great service. Great merchandise, great prices, and a great location, easy to get into right there in front of Sam's, right? So that is Trucker Supply. Go by and see them today, or call them and let them know you're coming, right? And they'll lay stuff out for you to look at. 693-2316, 693-2316. They're simply the best, folks. They're Trucker Supply.
Did get an opportunity to go to the Riley Center last night and take in the Sister Hazel show. And, boy, those guys tore the house down last night. It was fantastic.
Great show.
Great show, great crowd, and hope everybody enjoyed it. And while we were there last night, they introduced the new season of Who's Coming Soon to the MSU Riley Center. And we'll go over that coming up here in just a few moments. Some pretty big names going to be gracing the Riley Center stage very soon. But let's go back to the phone line this morning at 485-9191. Hey, caller, good morning.
Hey, good morning. This is the senior chief. 1969, I done been kicked out of grade school once. What a reason I called is I've been under the weather and I'm back full force. I went and seen my shanker mechanic and got a double shot in the back aft, and I'm doing pretty good right now.
There you go.
And what I wanted to say that I was remiss about, this is August. Now, for you historian types, you realize that one of the most hardest fought campaigns was fought in August of 42 in a little bitty place called Guadalcanal.
You got Toby's attention.
Campaign. Mm-hmm. Do you remember one of the most catastrophic events concerning the light cruiser Juno there, Toby?
Sure, but share it with everyone else. No, I remember. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
The five Sullivan brothers.
That's right.
Were aboard her. They named a destroyer after those five men instead of naming five individual ships. It was called the USS Sullivans, and it was number 537. And
the inspiration for Private Ryan came a lot from that story. Yeah.
Yes, sir, and that was real. Now, two of them survived the blast, but what happened? the Juno got beat up. She was one of the what they call the machine gun. The Japanese called them the machine gun cruisers. They were 6-inch guns, but they were encapsulated in ammunition. In other words, it was like a bullet instead of your traditional powder. So your fire rate was 3 to 1 on a regular 6-inch gun. You know. And the Japanese were scared to death of them. Like I said, it was one of the most vicious, hard-fought campaigns. The Japanese lost 2 battleships. We each lost 24 destroyers. Can you imagine that? 24 apiece. That's 48 destroyers, and that's why we call it the Iron Bottom Sound.
24. Wow.
Each. 24 American, 24 Japanese.
Wow.
And they lost 2 battle wagons, a cruiser or 2, and they kicked our butt. I mean, the Japanese were so far superior at night fighting than we were, and their surface torpedoes, the Long Lance is what they were called. You remember those? You remember hearing and reading about them?
We had so many torpedo problems at the beginning of the war.
Yeah, we didn't get right till right near the end of 43 for torpedoes, but that Long Lance was a Type 61 surface-fired, 24-inch, 3,000 pounds of Torpex. This thing would take a carrier and gut it. You know, they were just nasty weapons. But the Juno had been badly damaged, and she was in part of the cripple group that was heading back to Noumea, and she got hit by a torpedo, and it detonated her forward magazine. One of her turrets landed 5 miles away. And almost landed on one of the other ships. Wow. And the clap was so loud that they heard it crack all the way down to Noumea. Everybody looked up and said, what in the world was that? Oof. And only 10 men survived.
You know, I had once had a person tell me out in California. I was out there, actually, the little documentary that was being done. I was a part of that. And I asked about World War II. And I asked about, why haven't I seen more on these particular battles? And Guadalcanal was one of them. And this was a producer I was talking to, and he said, because the battle went on so long, it's really difficult to squeeze it into 2 hours. And it's not fair to say something like, a week later, 2 weeks later kind of thing, because it lessens the intensity. And,
do you know who Raizo Tanaka was?
Right. What you say, Raizo Tanaka?
Raizo. Raizo was his first name. He was a captain, a Japanese captain. He led what's called the Tokyo Express, and I know you know what that means. It was a supply effort out of Rabaul with destroyers, and he was the one. He was in that group that did the original sinking on the Vincennes, the Astoria, the Quincy, and the British Australia. They kicked our butt the first time we ran into them. So. I mean, a lot of people don't. Let's see, who wrote it? James Hornfisher, and it's called something's Inferno. Neptune's Inferno is the name of the book. If you want a good read, Neptune's Inferno by James Hornfisher goes over, into the minutia of that campaign.
We mentioned earlier that classes start for MSU on the 16th, the next Wednesday, and I always talk about how it's never too late
sign up.
Yeah. In fact, one of my favorite students ever just passed away recently, Barbara Bosarge, and when I taught her, she was 76. Wow. And she was an absolute joy because she had lived a lot of it. And she was one of these individuals that actually heard us talking about coming back and getting your degree. And there's financial incentives, too, if you're a particular age. But the reason for this ranting I was going to go on is that, a lot of our students, a lot of Americans don't realize they hear World War II, oh, that's a victory, and they don't realize how tough, how tenuous that war was at the beginning. And it's kind of America's pattern in a major conflict is to get knocked around for a while, then finally kind of catch up with yourself.
Oh yeah, once the sleeping giant stands up and shakes sleep out of his eyes, you got a daggum problem.
But what scares me now is the fact that with technology the way it is, we can't really afford a few rounds of trying to get our head on straight. That's what scares me about some of these potential conflicts that may be on the horizon. But yeah, a lot of individuals don't realize that, United States has a pretty good record when it comes to war. But at the beginning, I mean, it was 41, 42, even over to 43. even after the limited success we had in 42 in the Pacific, it was close. It was, it was tooth and nail for a while.
It was tooth and nail, and everybody always they did a lot of racial profiling of the Japanese. My uncles, I had 4 or 5 uncles in World War II, and one of them was captured. His ship was sunk, and they picked him up, and he said, "Them Japanese, some of the toughest you ever fought in your life." He said, "Don't ever be fooled. Them some tough boys." And he fought on some of the island campaigns when he got rescued, basically, because when they capture them, they'd send them to a base, and then from there they'd ship them, to the copper mines or wherever it was. But he didn't make it that far. He just happened to be left on one of the islands in the Micronesia chains, I believe, that we invaded. And he actually fought on the ground as a ship fitter. He was a first-class petty officer, E6, as a welder ship fitter, but you're going to do whatever you got to do.
Well, to link this to what we've been talking about today on the show, we tease Biden a lot because he gives us so much, material.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
But I'll be very open and honest about this. He's just about lost me since Afghanistan and how that went down, and then to hear these Gold Star parents talking a few days ago.
That was pretty powerful testimony.
Right, and how he comes in, and the thing is, when you go to a visitation, when you go to a funeral, right, the best thing you can do is shut up. Let them know you're there, you're thinking about them, but don't make it about yourself. And there were more than a few parents upset because he made it about himself. He talked about how he had lost his son Bo, in combat, and that is not true. And when you say that to a Gold Star parent, now losing a son is bad enough. Losing a daughter, and we've talked about this. If you lose your, if you lose your husband, you're a widow, wife, you're lucky. I mean, you're a widower, But there's no word for losing a child, and so I'm not making light of that at all. My dad, my older brother, passed away at the age of 7. We had cancer. My dad barely ever spoke to him. It was so painful. But in that moment, when those Americans died. Because security was being supplied by the Taliban, and he makes it about himself and makes it about Bo. That's something else, man. And when I see these stories about people on planes upset they can't get off a commercial flight because there's an American serviceman or servicewoman that they're unloading first who had died, and folks are like, oh, it's just they won't know. Let us off. This is. I hate that we've lost some of that. I don't think we've lost as much as people think. But, we're sitting.
Can you imagine that vehicle pulling up in front of Miss Sullivan's house? And she's thinking the worst. I've lost 2, to find out she lost all of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about it.
There's a book I think every American should read. It's got 2 different titles. One is Sacred Duty. One is Final Salute. And it's written by the men who go to the doors with the chaplains and knock on the doors and inform their loved ones that they've lost someone. And they talk about standing on that porch, and on the other side of the door, they can hear some kids playing and laughing. They hear a mom talking to their mother on the phone, or a husband talking to their dad on the phone, and they realize, I'm going to knock on this door and change that dynamic inside forever. And it's an extremely touching book, and it harkens back to a time where the country looked at itself a little differently.
Well, I'm not a doomsayer and I'm not negative, but I'm telling you, when the 2 biggest kids on the block get enough gumption amongst themselves, they're going to fight. And you just keep your eye on the Taiwan Strait, young man.
Yep. There you go. And indeed.
That's all. You keep your eye on the Taiwan Strait. And I'd like to let the people in listening land know we don't have enough single bullets in inventory to shoot every member of the Chinese nation, because there are that many.
Wow.
We don't have enough in inventory right now to shoot each of them once.
Jeez.
So, and then you can't trust somebody that has 1.7 billion people and tells you that their favorite pastime is ping pong. That's a bunch of peanut butter right there. So as it were, let's not forget Guadalcanal, Tassafaronga, the USS Blue, the USS Helena, all of them. Let's not forget those brave ships and brave men.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all have a good day.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Fantastic.
That's why I always enjoy his phone calls because I mean,
love it.
These were men, and in some cases women, just like you, Rob, just like me. You know, they had dreams and hopes and aspirations, and you know, they died in faraway places and places they couldn't even pronounce or spell.
Yeah, and I'm glad from an historical aspect that we brought that to light, not just because of it being August, obviously, but the war itself. I mean. Right. It's a long, long ordeal.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't just a few months and we're done. This stretched out over several years.
And they were protests as early as 1943 of people wanting us to get out of the war. I mean, when Germany was being squeezed and Japan was being squeezed, you know, there were people saying, okay, they're licked. They can't do it. They can't hit us again. Let's, you know, and they were protests against Roosevelt. That's never talked about. It was like, you know, we're all for one and, you know, one for all. But there were people who wanted, because the war was dragging on. And we had, I mean, think about how mad people get right now if their internet's interrupted for 5 minutes.
I can't watch my Netflix.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Think about now telling them you can't have sugar, or your sugar's going to be limited, your meat's going to be limited. You know, these household items you're so used to, you will not be able to get, or you can only get gas on certain days of the month.
Yeah, there was some, I cannot remember exactly what the movie is. I thought it was a very accurate depiction of North Korea. It was some just spoof comedy movie about Kim Jong-un that came out. I think James Franco was in it. The Interview was the name of it.
Oh, The Interview, yeah.
And you know, he's over there, a big Hollywood hotshot, and he's going to interview Kim Jong-un, and he goes into this grocery, because they show him North Korea do a tour, and everything looks happy, and everything's great, but when he goes into a grocery store on his own, everything is covered up, you know, make it look good, but there's nothing on the shelves.
Right.
So, you know, imagine that, if you will.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Christians running an underground railroad out of North Korea trying to rescue folks. You know, we had a fellow just run across the border. Yeah. You know, of course he's got a little bit of a backstory there, but making this again what we talked about. Trump goes to the DMZ. Remember what he does? He walks across. And he grabs who he called Rocket Man, and he walks him back across into South Korea. You know, he's like, they're like, we can't do that. There's diplomatic. He goes, oh, okay, and he walks there, and it winds up. You know, it was a huge sentimental moment. You know, he got no credit for that at all. You know, just like he had those three really serious deals in the Middle East. We'd only had 2 since 1948. He had 3 on his presidency dealing with Israel and Muslim countries. That didn't get any play. No, it's a dangerous world. It always has been a dangerous world, but we've always had men and women willing to stand up and fight, you know, and defend the very freedoms that we have.
Absolutely. 601-485-9191 is our number as we are moving through a fun Friday here on the program. Hey, big thanks to Danny Shelton and the staff down at Premier Paint and Body. You know, folks, they're right next door to Johnson Dodge. They're on 39, and whether it's just a, you know, slight little ding dunk, whatever it might be, they can get you squared away, and they make the insurance process super easy down there at Premier as well.
Right, and you wonder sometimes when you've got a dent, or you've got a part of the car that's pushed in or whatever. You know, this is not like the cars they used to make. These cars that were 3 acres long, and you know, when you press the accelerator, you could actually hear drinking the gas, right? Yeah. These cars that are made today, if any part of them are compromised, if there's a crack or a rip or something, quite often that will affect, big word coming up now, I saw once on TV, the dexterity. The dexterity. That's right, of the car. And so if you have a small little indention or a small little door pop, you think there's nothing to it, it could very well affect how the car reacts in a much larger collision or impact. We all have, you know, we got kids going back to school, kids driving for the first time right now, and you want them in something safe. So go by Premier Paint and Body and have them look at your vehicle. They'll give you a free estimate. You know, quite often you'll be stunned at how cheap it is. And also the other thing I want to point to is this has come to my attention a couple of times. Folks who've got an older car like it. It's not damaged, but they like to have a new paint job on, some new clear coat, you know? And they're stunned at how inexpensive that is and how it makes that car look like new.
It's amazing.
And as we talk about, 150 years combined experience from their shop to their office staff. So go by and see them, folks. Premier Paint and Body, as Rob said, right next door to Johnson Dodge. Give them a call and let them know kind of what you got, what's on your mind. 482-7246. 482-7246. Premier Paint and Body.
I think they'll even have the coffee brewed and ready when you get down there. Get you a cup of coffee while they start to work on your vehicle.
And it's good coffee.
Yeah.
It's not like the brown crayon and hot water you get someplace. It's actually good coffee.
It's like the little, no disrespect to some of the hotels, it's always the little cup.
Right.
And you pour it in there and it just tastes
like. My doctor's office is like, we got free coffee over there. Yeah. No, I'm not sure what that is.
Tasted like it was filtered through a jock strap.
That's
so. It's just awful. Yep. But anyway, still a lot to get to here on the program this morning. Of course, we mentioned earlier a big show at the Riley Center last night with Sister Hazel. We'll go over some of the highlights of the new season that was announced last night at the Riley Center. Also, I want to get into a story involving an electric truck. And I think a lot of people will find this very interesting, of the amount of money, not just purchasing the vehicle itself, but all of the other expense that this one individual had to go through and still going through with a purchase of one, not just a car, but an electric truck. So the EV thing has been pushed down our throats by this administration.
That's right.
But, folks, the price tag that this guy spent, it will floor you when you hear some of the details we'll share coming up. So, of course, we're online at WALTmeridian.com. You can listen to the show there, or on that Facebook Live feed, WALT Talk Radio. So, and of course, that number, 601-485-9191. We'll take a break. Your Money Now and Fox News is on the way next here on Mornings of Meridian. Stay close. Another birthday on the list today. John Conley turning 77 today. A little common man this morning from John. 77. So
I love songs like that are just eternal. They just are, they're always going to last because there's always those folks that, puff themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're just proud to be regular folk.
Of course, you can hear John Conley in another list of legends on our sister station 105.7 The Legend.
That's right.
So there you go. So as we move on this morning, I want to thank another legend here in Meridian, and that is Tony Creel down at Tony Southern Sportsman. I mean, Tony has been doing it right here in Meridian for 30 plus years, and of course I always love the farmers market report from Tony. Of course, he's right across the street from the farmers market. Of course, you can catch Earth's Bounty down there first Saturday of the month all the way through November. He'll give you a report on that, and of course he's just a good dude, and when it comes to outdoors, Tony's got you covered.
Yeah, we're just talking about a common man, just as they'd say in the old days, he's a good old boy. And you get a free story. Every time you go to Southern Sportsman and Tony's there, you get a free story. We talk a lot on the air, and we kind of lament the passing of tradition and things such as that. And I always push folks to start a new tradition, right? If you're a grandfather or a father, grandmother, or mother for that matter, start that tradition you grew up with being outdoors. You see these folks taking these giant vitamin D pills, and some folks do need the extra.
Sure.
My wife takes one of those big horse pills, but she also spends time outside. But there's some folks that just are afraid to go outside, it seems like. And, when you go outside and you're in God's country, it's just this extraordinary feeling. And Tony has got the ways to make that so much more enjoyable, where you can start that tradition that you enjoyed and you remember from when you were a child. You can start the same tradition with your child or your grandchild. We'll start first with fishing. If you like to fish, or if you don't know whether or not you like to fish, Tony will start you right. He'll put you in the right kind of rod, tell you exactly some secret places to go, give you the right thing to put on the hook. If you're an established fisherman, you'd be surprised what new equipment's out there. Tony's got all of that. Jumping a little bit to firearms.
Yeah.
People, we've all grown up with firearms in the house, and some folks are ready to maybe it's ready for the wife or the daughter or the son who's maybe going off to college or whatever. You want them to have a little extra protection. Again, take them down to Tony's. Tony will talk to them, find out where they're going, and from his wide selection of firearms, find out what's right for them. The days of passing down Grandpa's, 44 Colt Python are kind of over, right?
Right.
You need a weapon that's an extension of yourself. You need not to be afraid of it. Need to know exactly how to clean it and take care of it. Tony's got you covered there. If it happens outside, if it's sporting at all, you can get it at Tony Southern Sportsman. And again, you get that free story. Give them a call, 693-4111, 693-4111, or better yet, go down there, Tony Southern Sportsman.
Last night, the Riley Center introduced their upcoming season. Boy, a lot of big names are going to be coming to the stage at the Riley Center. And, of course, I mentioned earlier the Sister Hazel show was fantastic last night, just unbelievable. And, of course, Midnight South, too, opened for Sister Hazel last night, band from Arkansas. They a good country group there, played for about 30 minutes, so it was a good show last night. But before that, they had a gathering to introduce the new season. And just a few highlights of the new season we'll go over real quick. It'll all begin on September the 23rd. Jim Messina will be at the Riley Center, and then on October the 7th, you got Mary Shapin Carpenter and Sean Colvin.
Oh, man.
Going to be here in Meridian. And some other highlights here. Patti LaBelle is going to grace the Riley Center stage on Thursday night, November the 9th. And as we move on down here, Sheriff Solly, this is right up his alley. Rumors. A Fleetwood Mac tribute band Thursday, February 29th of next year. That should be a good one right there. Or as I always say, that'd be a good one right there.
Yeah, on a rare date, too, February 29th.
Exactly.
A little leap year going on.
And then on June the 14th of next year, the Commodores are going to be coming into town, so that should be a good one. And then, who would have thought Wayne Newton would come to Meridian?
That's a legend.
He will be here July the 20th of 2024. That's a Saturday night show, ladies. Wayne Newton will be here.
Spend your Saturday night with Wayne Newton. What you used to go to sleep dreaming about and the next day in church praying for forgiveness about, you can now experience what? Live and living color yourself, right? You used to dream about Wayne Newton at night.
Crap, Wayne Newton's hitting on Mom.
There you go. Play that again.
You want to hear that?
It's a great line.
Hang on one second. Let me get that back up for you.
Wayne Newton's hitting on Mom.
Wayne Newton's hitting on Mom.
Part of the act, Russ.
from one of the vacation movies. But, I mean, Patti LaBelle, Wayne Newton, these are legends.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to play it one more time.
Holy crap, Wayne Newton's hitting on Mom.
It's all part of the act, Russ.
It's all part of the act, Russ.
And the folks down there, the staff at the Riley Center work awfully hard to bring these big acts into Meridian. And so support them. And if you haven't been to the Riley Center, you have to understand the layout it's kind of legendary among musicians.
Yeah.
You know, around the world, really. Quite often we've had groups come to the Riley Center, a band or a singer. They get there, they go through rehearsal, they realize the acoustics are just darn near perfect.
That's what Sister Hazel said last night, the lead singer. He said, the acoustics in here are amazing.
It's extraordinary.
They really bragged on that last night.
Yeah,
so.
and quite often they'll change their show. They'll go to an all-acoustic show sometimes, sing more things a cappella, and it's just great. And also try, I think everyone should do this at least once. Goes down to Riley Center, see a performance or a group or an act that you're not familiar with. Try something new, because everyone who comes in there is quality. They work really hard to bring the best in, and so go see someone you're not familiar with and give that a shot as well.
Yeah, it was a good show last night, and Sister Hazel, just good stuff right there. So MSURileyCenter.com. Check out the new season. Like I said, Patti LaBelle. Mary Chapin Carpenter, the Fleetwood Mac tribute, and of course Wayne Newton, just some of the highlights, and the Commodores too. Don't forget about that. So,
and that last sentence with Wayne Newton, Rob, it says here that a part of their official release, Wayne Newton on July 20th will close out the season with a intimate performance.
La, 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 la.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I tell you.
It'll be something. So 601-485-9191 here at Mornings in Meridian. Before we move on to this electric vehicle story, we need to thank our friends who have some great vehicles up in Philadelphia, and that is our friends there at Doc's Toyota. And you know what? They might sneak an EV in there on you, possibly.
Absolutely.
So.
At a great price if you're going to go there.
That's right.
Folks, again, we always talk about buying local because BLM, buying local matters. And the sponsors that you hear on WALT have been vetted by you. They're in business because of you, and they'll be the first ones to tell you that. And these are sponsors and places that you can trust. And Doc's Toyota is just, it's getting a lot of great buzz because of a lot of the great deals. The 2023 cars, the new ones, the pre-owned cars, you'll really be surprised at what they have there on hand and what they can get you as well. And as we always say, go by and see them. They're up in Philadelphia, and they're on a Highway 16 West there. Go by and see them and tell them kind of what your driving habits are. How many miles you drive a week, or what was it like a month as far as distance and where you go. And you might go up there with something in mind, but let the experts talk to you as well. They've got some really nice pre-owned and new vehicles up there, wanting you to test drive them, wanting you to try them out, and save you some money as well. You can call them at 601-600-3786. That's 600-3786. They're on Highway 16 West in Philadelphia. They're open Monday through Saturday. They've actually got times on Saturday for you to come by and see them from 8 to 12. Spend the morning walking by, talking to them, seeing what they have. So again, feel much better about yourself because you went to the Docks. That's in Philadelphia, and that's Doc's Toyota.
We're going to get to that EV story coming up here in just a moment, but first let's head over to the phone line. Hey, caller, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, sir.
I heard you talking about Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
That's the outside border for Representative 81's district. Newton and Wayne County.
That's right. That's awesome. Never thought of that.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Yep, it's going to be a big show next July. So,
an intimate show.
An intimate show. Yeah.
Are you going to go see Wayne Newton?
I'm trying to cut back, trying to work on my carbon footprint.
Oh, I see. I understand. I understand.
Since I mentioned that about Wayne Newton being the counties for 81. While I was waiting for you to pick up, it made me think about as a child, I referred to it as a boycott.
Mm-hmm.
My folks would have their friends over from, a couple lived on the reservoir at Jackson and some out of Laurel, and they'd take turns visiting with one another. And when they did, as a child, they'd set up this aluminum cot that I slept on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And which I still refer to as a boycott. It was bad. It had aluminum kind of thing that would hit on you when you slept on it, real uncomfortable. So when I got old enough to drive, I started going to the Nelva Court or the Downtowner and getting a room.
But you didn't like that adventure sleeping? That's what we called it when we were kids, sleeping in a different spot, you know?
Well, it wasn't designed well. It was hard on a child.
Did it affect your sleep? Were you still able to sleep on it? Or was it just...
Oh, no. It hit you in the ribs. This tubing, the way that it unfolded and set up. It was sort of a mesh type thing. Looked like it needed to be between two trees instead of in the house. That's what it was. Well, I'll be listening to your next story. I don't want to hang you up on that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no worries whatsoever. Appreciate you this morning.
Yeah.
In 6 days, I got a phone back up last week, and it was a struggle. After all the diagnostics and waiting on a modem that had a delay on the delivery, I got 6 days of credit with AT&T.
Hey.
And then when the modem came in, it didn't work, and I went back to more diagnostics, and they said it was in the phone. Why they couldn't figure that out before they shipped the modem, but that's the way we have it these days.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time.
Appreciate you this morning.
All right, bye.
All right, 601-485-9191 is
irritating.
our number. So
that is irritating.
we mentioned this story earlier, just kind of teased it, about this guy in Illinois. Well, it was actually a road trip to Chicago. It's a Canadian man. He is calling electric vehicles the biggest scam of modern times after his frustrating experience with an electric truck. Story courtesy of Fox Business this morning. I'm going to give an attempt to say this guy's name. Dalbir Bala. We'll just say a Canadian man.
Okay.
lives in the Winnipeg area. He bought a Ford F-150 Lightning EV in January. You know what the price tag on this vehicle was?
So this is a Ford F-150 electric truck. What was the price tag?
$115,000.
Wow, that's Hunter Biden money.
Plus tax.
Oh, plus tax.
Plus tax. He told Fox Business he needed the vehicle for his work, but also wanted something suitable for recreational activities such as driving to his cabin or going fishing. Okay, fair enough. He also wanted an environmentally friendly vehicle, as owning one is responsible citizenship these days, is what he said.
Okay.
But this gentleman was quickly hit with the reality of owning and operating an electric vehicle soon after the purchase. The vehicle compelled him to install 2 charges, one of those being at work and one at home.
This was a place to plug the truck up.
Price tag on that, $10,000. To accommodate the charger, he had to upgrade his home's electrical panel for a price tag of $6,000. In all, including the truck purchases and tax and all these other things that he did, $130,000. Not long after the purchase, this gentleman got into a minor accident.
Oh, no.
Which he said required light assembly on the front bumper. He took the vehicle to the body shop and did not get it back for 6 months. He said no one from Ford answered his email or phone calls for help. Now, the limitations of the EV truck became even more apparent when he embarked on a chaotic 1,400-mile road trip to Chicago. Why you're going to Chicago? Maybe it was work-related. Don't think that's something I'd want to go drive to.
Must be in bullet manufacturing or bullet best.
Fast charging stations. You've heard of those. We've talked about them here on the program before, which only charge electric vehicles up to 90%. Costs more than gas for the same mileage. On the family's first stop in Fargo, North Dakota, driving from Canada.
Oh, the family's with him on this. Okay, wow.
It took 2 hours and $56 to charge his vehicle from 10% to 90%.
2 hours.
The charge was good for 215 miles.
Oh, my gosh.
On the second stop in Albertville, Minnesota, the free charger was faulty, and the phone number on the charging station was of no help. The family drove to another charging station in Elk River, Minnesota. but the charger was faulty there as well.
So again, to make your point, these charging stations quite often are off to themselves. They're not manned by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he had 2 that had problems. Okay.
There was no other fast charging stations within range of Elk River, and his vehicle only had 12 miles left.
His family's with him.
He said by now it was late afternoon. We were really stuck, hungry and heartbroken. The guy ultimately had the vehicle towed to a Ford dealership in Elk River and rented a regular gas vehicle to complete the family's trip to Chicago. The family picked up the F-150 on their way back to Winnipeg. He said, it was in the shop for 6 months. I can't take it to my lake cabin. I cannot take it off-grid camping. I cannot take for even a long trip. I can only drive in the city. Biggest scam of modern times.
Wow.
So, folks, there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
The price tag on that particular, now that's a truck.
Right.
Big difference in one of these little cars.
That's right.
$115,000 plus tax to purchase the truck. He installs a charging station at his workplace on his own, one at home. That is another $10,000. And then at his house, in order to sustain that charging station, he had to get another electrical grid at his home for another $6,000. He tries to drive the truck to Chicago on some kind of a family vacation from Winnipeg to Chicago, and you see the trouble he had. $56, 2 hours to charge the dadgum thing. And then he tries to get 2 more charges in Minnesota, and those charging stations are faulty and can't get anybody on the phone to help him out. And he ultimately has to abandon the truck, rent a gas vehicle to complete the trip.
I would pay. Yeah.
We all need to drive EVs.
Yes, we do. We do. I would pay half his bill if he would let me watch the recording of he and his wife during that latter part of the drive, because you had to know that was one great fight. Everything came up that had ever gone on between them.
So I wonder how he feels about his environmentally, what was the word that were used there? He wanted to be an environmentally good citizen, I believe is what it was.
Yeah.
So,
and him by him saying that told you what he thought about us.
Yeah.
You know, who didn't drive those things. But you're right. There are states right now that are going to be all electric, they claim, by 2035.
But look at that example right there.
That's right. That's right.
Proof's in the pudding. There you go. Let's go to the phone line real quick before we pay off our last bills here. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, now.
These electric vehicles, a lot of people warn against putting that electrical vehicle in a garage and then hooking the charger to it because they have been known to catch on fire.
That's right.
Correct.
Great point.
Now, what about these homeowner associations in these housing developments? And part of the agreement is that your vehicle must be parked in your garage.
Yeah.
So, anybody who is in a homeowners association, they buy an EV, then they've just got to run the risk of burning their house down when they charge their vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's happening more and more.
But it's amazing when you talk to people about these EVs that are just all hell bent on having one. When you read a story like that, it's like, well, I thought you were going to save on gas. Well, it's $56 for a 2-hour charge, and you only get it up to 90%, and you only had 215 miles after that charge. So, and the free charging stations were faulty. I mean, it's a rouge. The whole thing is.
Right. And in a lot of these bigger cities, you have people living in apartments. And where do they park? On the street.
Correct.
And just look at the number of charging stations a city is going to have to provide, or either that apartment complex is going to have to provide for people to charge, or if it's in a parking garage, all the charging stations, somebody's got to pay for.
You're right.
That's right.
So, well, we got to run here. We got to pay off the rest of our bills. But, hey, appreciate you checking in this morning.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Good points. Good points.
Yeah, absolutely. But just the price tag of all of that extra.
That's right.
And then what happens when the battery goes out on that thing? That's going to cost you even more of an arm and a leg.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah.
just saying. I think that's one of those stories, case closed, right?
Seems to be.
It seems to be pretty open.
That's just one example.
Yeah, there may be a lot more than that. So we're going to take a break here on Mornings Meridian, and we'll be back to wrap up the show in moments. Hello, John Denver. We are right on top of a Fox News breaking. Glenn Beck is peeking through the window like Wilson on Home Improvement. But anyway, let's thank Martin Roofing before we sneak out the back door here.
Real quick, folks, if a roof, shingles, metal, rubber, commercial roofing, just want your roof inspected, you can't do any better than calling Doug Martin Sr. or Doug Martin Jr., 485-5920. They've been in business over 30 years. Roofing's scary, folks. I know it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. You don't know that until you call them. You're going to be surprised the great deal you'll get. You'll be surprised how much it'll help your insurance and the value of your home. Martin Roofing. Call them now before you absolutely have to call them with a tree through your roof, right? 485-5920. 485-5920. Martin Roofing, folks.
Well, folks, we're out of time. We're less than a minute away from getting out here. Toby, it's been a blast the last 2 mornings here.
Thanks so much. If you'll sign this paperwork here for my parole officer, I can count this as community hours.
I'll even notarize it for you. How about that? So,
perfect.
Folks, have a great weekend. Roger will be back on Monday. Charles Frazier will be here, and we'll start another week together on Monday here on Mornings in Meridian. Be safe, and what do we always say? Buy local.